Welcome to the Why Did I Get Cancer podcast. I'm Deborah Herlax-Enos, a small-town girl turned TV nutritionist and healthy living expert. I design health programs for the average guy or gal, including those average guys named Metallica. On September 1st, 2020, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. I asked every oncologist the same question, why did I get cancer? But none of my doctors had good answers for me. I wanted answers, and that's why I started this podcast. I want to help you to lower your cancer risk and provide self-care tips for those in the battle. I'm getting answers, and I want to share them with you. Welcome to part 2 with Dr. Brian Reiswig, who is a therapist, professor of psychology, family counselor. Met him a few months ago at a marriage conference. Okay, so on last week's episode, Dr. Brian taught me something I did not know, which was high levels of cortisol, so that stress hormone, can actually help make your body not regulate blood sugar properly. If your body isn't regularly monitoring blood sugar, it puts you at higher risk for type 2 diabetes. So Dr. Brian's goal is really to get us to practice down-regulating our nervous system, which basically means try to calm down, which if you've ever told a woman to calm down, you know the result is probably not good. So in today's episode, Dr. Brian teaches me how to do a practice called Calm Place. And it takes a couple of minutes to get there, maybe 3 to 5 minutes. And it's all in your mind. You're not getting in your car. What I loved about it is within minutes, I felt my blood pressure go down. My breathing became very normal. I was able to take some really good deep breaths. And it's something he's asked me to practice a couple of times a day. We also talked about just the regularity of a grounding practice. So maybe it's reading your Bible. Maybe it's getting up in the morning, taking off your shoes and walking around in your yard. But he was saying just these small bits of down regulating your nervous system into a calmer place is just such a good thing for your health. And again, we know that stress is probably the number one risks of most diseases known to man today. So let's practice together. Again, he just really encourages a daily practice. So join with me. Enjoy the episode.
So learning those cues, those early indicator lights that pop up on the dashboard. And let's say for me, it's like the first thing I notice is I notice tightness in my chest. Then I say, okay, when I start to see that dashboard light come on, what can I do? And I'm going to go into a separate room, a room that can be quiet for maybe 5 to 7 minutes. I'm going to close my eyes and I'm just going to do that box breathing for 5 to 7 minutes, which is when you're in a stress response, feels like an agonizingly long amount of time.
Yes.
And it will feel ineffective. That's the thing you want to lead with. You want to lead with, I know this isn't going to feel effective. Now, there are more complex techniques that can feel more effective immediately. And if you wanted to, we could go over one of those. But even those slightly more complex techniques that tend to have a much better hit in the beginning, even those, you want to expect, okay, this is not going to be like a Xanax pill. This is my nervous system not taking an exit from the stress, but actually building confidence that it can manage the stress, which is going to be slower. It's going to take more attention. It's going to take more training. One of the things that's really neat about any of these techniques is one of the techniques I teach most often in my practice is a technique I call Calm Place, CALM, Calm Place, which is where we access an imagined location and we just access that through our 5 senses and we stay there for maybe 5, 7, 8 minutes. In the beginning, I'll lead somebody through it, and very, very rarely, I would say less than 5% of the time, does somebody not feel an immediate downregulatory sense in their nerve.
Really?
It's effective from the very beginning. But what's so cool is I'll tell them, all right, if you do something a little bit difficult and do something that's going to take a little bit of discipline and do this every day, at least once, but if you can, 2 or 3 times a day for the next 2 weeks, I want to hear what it's like then. And what they'll tell you is instead of somewhere around minutes 4, 5, 6, I started to feel my body relax, is that as soon as they go to that place mentally, within the first 2 or 3 minutes, their body learns what's happening and it goes into a practice downregulatory response. It remembers, oh, I know where we're going. This is where we feel calm. But that really takes repetition.
Okay, well, this is blowing my doors wide open. Couple things. Dashboard lights. Okay, I'm going to use that forever. That's so good. So you're saying though that I'll just, with my own mental health jargon, this might suck at first,
Yeah.
and you're not going to feel anything. But if you create this as a habit, it's building muscle memory so that my
Yes.
body will get calmer?
Emotional muscle memory.
What?
Brilliant.
Okay. Okay. I can do this.
You absolutely can. You
I can do
absolutely can.
this.
Should we walk
I
through it?
Oh, I'd love that. I've never heard it presented like this before. And in the face of overwhelming problems that I think about, I've been through in the last 5 or 6 years, this is doable.
Mm.
Because to me, I like to exercise, I like to lift weights, I like to surf, I like to do a lot of different things. But those all took practice.
Oh, yeah.
And I sucked at all of them in the beginning, really badly. But now I can hop in the water and I can surf and have a good time. So you're saying I can do this with down regulating my nervous system?
Absolutely. I mean, those are perfect examples, Deborah, like surfing. The first time I got on a surfboard, I was not able to stand up. I still had fun,
Yeah.
but it's really hard to motivate yourself to go back because you're like, I'm
Yeah.
really bad at this. And then it's
Right.
not until that first time you stand up, and then you do that for 6 months, and you get to place. I know exactly how this is going to go. I'm going to go out there. I'm going to find a wave, and I'm just going to slide into that feeling that you feel only when your board has caught
Yes.
the wave and you're moving, and your
Oh,
nervous
yeah.
system can actually anticipate it, and it's totally the same thing. That's beautiful.
Oh my gosh. Okay, this works for me. And I'll tell you, not a lot has worked for me in this area. Last night, my husband and I, we took our shoes off and we walked around the yard for 10 to
Mm.
15 minutes, grounding, and then looking at all the flowers in our yard, listening to the birds. I know that 6 minutes of listening to birds can get me into parasympathetic. There's great data supporting that. So I will do things outside, but having it as a daily practice, I hadn't really considered that before.
Mm. Well, I mean, the thing that strikes me about what you just said is now there's some level of awareness because you're aware that you do this. But what's so beautiful about that is you naturally developed a down regulatory strategy. Is your body connected? Man, when I take off my shoes and my feet can feel the ground and the grass and I walk around and I listen to birds, which is the same essential function as why people develop addictions
Yeah.
is we get exposed to something and it has a surprisingly powerful downregulatory response or other forms of relief like numbing or pleasure, excitement, something like that. But it takes away from the distress. It's so intense and it doesn't actually downregulate the nervous system. It falsifies it in some way. But the fact that your body kind of learned that. Your body learned that, oh, whenever I go do this, and maybe that's a tough thing to do when you're, at the grocery store or you're kind of out
Yeah.
doing your day and not even thinking about like, I wonder what the cumulative effect of that would be if I did it every day on purpose. Yeah. If I started my day with 6
Right.
minutes of grounding outside on the grass and listening to birds and I ended my day with that. If nothing else, we're starting to restore that flexibility, that mobility to our nervous system, just reminding it, hey, it's safe to feel safe. You can do this, which helps, even if it's briefly, because let's say you go outside and you get into nature and then you come right back in and you sit down at work and your stress goes right back up. Even if you're going back to the stressor, you're still giving a momentary relief to the levels of cortisol, to the levels of adrenaline. And I would imagine that even those brief practices, even if my brain has not yet realized I can take that calm with me to some degree back to the stressor, that even that's going to have a therapeutic effect.
Okay. So we're basically training our nervous system, which I didn't realize we could do.
Yeah, I think that's a brilliant way to say it. Absolutely.
Okay. All right. You said you could take me through it.
Oh yeah, let's do calm place. So very, very simple. It's a little bit, box breathing is one of the most simple techniques there is because you can learn it literally in one sentence. You take a deep breath in and you breathe in for 4 to 6 seconds. You hold it for 46 seconds. You breathe out for 46 seconds. Incredibly well-researched practice. They literally teach that practice to Navy SEALs. Incredibly well-researched practice.
Really?
Calm place is, it actually derived from the same body of research, that kind of advanced trauma theory. But this one takes a little bit more mental focus and a little bit more explanation of how it works. But if we think, just like we were talking about a minute ago, we tend to think of stress as being somehow directly connected to stressors, like external realities. Sarah looks mad at me. Mm-hmm. She looks like she's in a bad mood. My brain says she's upset because you didn't clean the house. And so my body feels as though my body's state of calm is directly related to Sarah's anger with me. But the reality is there's a big translation wall in between those two. My emotions and that external reality of whether or not she's actually upset with me. The filter that has to go through is what my brain perceives and what my brain says that it means. And so there's this filter that reality has to go through. And all we're doing is we're taking that filter and we're directing it towards a calming response. So what we do is, similar to how I referenced with the breathing, ideally we would do that in a semi-controlled environment. So even if you're in like a really stressful scenario out in public, I'll tell clients, maybe you can go find a restroom for 5 minutes, 7 minutes, 8 minutes. And you can just go sit quietly in the restroom and there will be stuff going on around you, but you can just kind of okay, I can close my eyes and nobody will be looking at me. We're going to find a place to sit down, ideally. Don't have to. Close our eyes. We're going to start with a couple of grounding breaths. And this is a visualization practice. So we're going to start with a couple of grounding breaths and we use grounding breath to bring our attention back into our own bodies. Mm-hmm. So maybe 2 or 3 grounding breaths. And as you're taking those grounding breaths, I like to focus my attention on what it feels like for the air to fill my lungs, because you feel that it's usually a really comfortable stretching in your chest. It's tension, but it feels good. And let yourself focus on that and really feel that. What's happening is my attention is getting pulled away from the external stressor and it's coming back into my body. Mm-hmm. And then from there, we have to have a actual location. It doesn't have to be a real place. So what I recommend for people is find a location, come up with a location. It could be a real place in your life that you love, like a park that you used to go to, a place you used to camp, someplace, but make it outdoors. Okay. And make it contingent upon nobody else. So make it a place you're really comfortable and enjoy alone.
Okay.
And if people can't think of it, I think no problem. Just imagine a place. So maybe it's a beach and the beach is all to yourself, or maybe it's a forest with a river or a creek or something. So we have this place, and often people will say, oh my gosh, there's this place in my grandma and grandpa's backyard where I used to play or whatever. They'll think of a real place that they associate with calm, but it doesn't have to be a real place. Once we've identified that location, what we're going to do after those 2 or 3 grounding breaths is we're going to close our eyes and we're going to visualize that environment. And I go through what I call 2 or 3 waves of detail. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to visualize that environment and I'm going to draw out details. So the place I like to visualize is a place next to this little stream in a forest that I've been hiking in. It's this place where there's a little opening, and I start to visualize the trees around me. This is visual detail. We're going to go through our 5 senses. We start with our sight. And then once those details become real to my brain, because your brain has profound visual memory, I'm going to let those details sit there, and then I'm going to remember. I'm going to pull out new details, a second wave of details. And I'll say, oh, you know what? I can see the leaves on the trees moving because the breeze is moving through them. And I'm going to let that detail become really real to my brain, and then I'm going to pull out another wave of detail. And I can see the light coming through the trees. It's all visual. And when I do that for maybe 45 seconds, a minute, then I'm going to let that visual stimulus sit there. I'm not going to push it away or try and hold on to it. I'm just going to let it sit there. And then I'm going to bring my attention to what I hear while I'm in that place. And I can say, I can hear that water kind of streaming next to me. I can hear the wind moving through the trees. I can hear birds chirping. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to pull out some detail. I'm going to let that detail get enriched. I'm going to focus on it. And then I'm going to pull out a second wave of detail. And all we're doing is using the brain's ability to perceive the environment around it to make that imagined environment incredibly real to our brain.
Sure.
That's all we're doing. Then
Yeah.
we might move from that and say, okay, what can I smell as I'm sitting there? What can I touch? What does it feel like? It's like, oh, I can feel the dust on the bench that I'm sitting on.
Oh my gosh.
The
Okay.
air is cold. And then lastly, what can I taste? And oddly enough, people will always be like, I can't taste anything. It's like, go back to that environment. What does that environment taste like? What does the air taste like when you're sitting there? Oh, I guess I can kind of imagine that there's like a woodiness to the air or whatever they say. The memory is in, the sensory memory is there.
Mm-hmm.
And so what we're going to do is we're going to take those deep breaths. It can be really actually fun to do a body scan and check in with your body. So what do I feel in my body? Oh, my chest is really tight. My abdomen, like my solar plex kind of feels queasy. My shoulders feel really stiff. My neck feels really tight. Go through the practice, and then we'll do another body scan. Oh, my chest, there's still tightness there, but it feels a lot more spacious. My muscles feel response. Because my body, my nervous system responds to the stimulus in my brain, and my brain responds to the stimulus in my attention. So it takes our whole focus. But like I said before, I can probably count on my fingers the number of patients or clients that I've worked with in the last 12 years, 13 years since I've been using that practice that haven't experienced an immediate downregulatory response. And then what's even cooler is just like when you go surfing, Deborah, is you can feel how fun it's going to be even before you get in the water.
Oh, yes. Yep. It's my happy place. Yeah. So that's
Brilliant.
the place I'm thinking of is, okay, I can hear the birds. There's a bald eagle flying over my head. There's when I, the water on my face. And so it almost feels like I got caught up in those details. And then the details that were negative in my life just kind of floated away. Okay, as we transition to fall, that's when it seems like there's more fires, there's more pathogens, there's more airborne stuff in our houses. And this is why it's an opportune time to replace your Air Doctor filters. I love the Ultra HEPA filter because it reduces 99.99% of airborne junk. And yes, I will also say that it is an investment to purchase an Air Doctor and to change out the filters every few months. But I have to tell you, I keep a really clean house, and I changed out my filters the other day, and I thought, Lord have mercy, it looks like I live in a barn because there's so much stuff inside of it. So I can't even imagine if I didn't have a clean house, what kind of gunk it would be protecting me from. So go to the link in the show notes. There's lots of information. Air Doctor's always having great sales. So if you click the link in the show notes, it's going to take you straight to Air Doctor, and you're going to see some of their great deals that they have going on as we transition to fall. Hope you enjoy it.
Yeah, if we think of the focus that our brain, the kind of grip that our brain has on the stress details, we think of it as the power is in the event, or the power is in the information. The reality of my illness, or my partner is mad at me or something. But the grip is actually rooted in our body's stress response. Our brain wants to focus on the stressor because it believes it's putting its attention on the source of danger. That's what a stress response in our body is. So if you tell me, if you put me in a room with a tiger and you say, Brian, ignore the tiger, there is zero chance my brain is going to ignore the tiger.
Right.
Because my brain perceives the tiger as dangerous. And so when we're talking about global events around the world, or we're talking about something stressful in our own life, the reason that reality or those details are so intrusive and they're so sticky is because they trigger a stress response.
Okay.
And as you downregulate the stress response, those details become a lot less sticky.
Okay. And it truly is practice. And, I when I think about practice, I think about, hours at the gym, hours trying to get up on a surfboard. But this sounds like it could be accomplished in less than 10 minutes.
Yeah, the impact and what we would call like the training happens when your nervous system has a corrective or unexpected response, right? So that corrective response can happen literally in 7 minutes. And if I
My
do that
gosh.
once and I never come back to it, my brain is going to log that as irrelevant. But if I do that once a day or twice a day for a few weeks, my brain is going to start to, ooh, there's something over here.
Okay. That's my aha moment right there is I've tried it here, I've tried it there, but I've never been consistent with it because I'll be honest, it's not fun.
Yes, well said.
Not
It is
fun.
not fun.
I like fun. And I've got no problem pulling weeds because I know I can see the result. But because
Mm,
I haven't done this consistently, I don't see a result.
that's I'm going to steal that, Deborah. That's so good. I don't mind pulling weeds because I can see the direct impact of my effort.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Which is, I
Yep.
think, why I love neuroscience is because neuroscience gives me research to hold on to when the things that neuroscience is telling me to do is stuff most of us knew we should do already,
Yeah.
but it feels so ineffective. We need some sort of data to say this isn't time wasted. You're actually accomplishing something here. Yeah.
Yeah, I need the data. I do. I need
Yeah.
the data.
I'm with you.
That is so interesting. This is actually something I can commit to and I can be excited about.
Oh,
As an athlete, I know the value of practice.
oh
So
yeah.
this really resonates with me and I'm excited to try it and I will keep you posted.
I am excited to hear how you like it and how it impacts you over time. Absolutely. I'm confident of what you'll report, but I'm excited to hear it.
Yes, good. Thank you. Thank you. Well, we've talked about a lot of really incredible things today. I think some of my big takeaways is that I can not download, down regulate my
Mm,
nervous system without Amazon Prime Day.
mm,
I don't have to shop to fill a hole. I don't have to have a glass of wine, but I could do some other things that may not be as immediate as drinking a glass of wine, but over time, there's going to be a payoff.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And and similar to like that's a great comparison because the glass of wine is wonderful, and I think when we have a really healthy relationship with that, we shouldn't worry too much about having a glass of wine to relax at the end of the day. The problem with it is it's an exit
Hmm.
instead of a resolve. Instead of actually changing
Right.
my relationship to the stressor, it just exits the stress temporarily. And
Yep.
so when the exit wears off, we're back in the stress and our body goes right back up to baseline, which the difference being when we practice something like this, we actually build, kind of like we were talking about at the beginning, we build trust in our capacity to access the stressor while staying down regulated. We actually
Hmm.
build confidence in our body's ability to like, oh, I can have a hard conversation with my spouse and I'll feel it, but I can stay in my body. I can stay calm. I can stay responsive. I can stay in my values, which often after we get stuck in those cycles for a long time, we lose that trust. And we think, I don't even want to have the fight anymore because I know what's going to happen. Yeah.
Yes. Yes, that's true. I guess it's just years of seeing it coming
Mm-hmm.
that you just kind of default like, oh, I know how this is going to go. Let's just stuff the feelings. Let's just not even talk about it because we know the result is going to be XYZ. And so I guess probably my final question for you is what impact does stuffing those feelings and not having that challenging conversation, difficult, however you want to say it, what what impact does that have on our body?
Yeah, it kind of goes back to some of those secondary secondary responses that we were talking about later. When we stuff them, our body's still in a stress response. We're just stuffing our. We're not even stuffing necessarily the level of activation. We're just stuffing our awareness of the activation. I
Mm.
remember I had such a profound kind of turning point aha moment really early in my career. It was the first time, this is very early in my career, it's the first time I got to work with a couple. So maybe during my first year, and this is pretty typical in psychotherapy, is all of my initial clients were individuals. And I remember the first time a couple was assigned to me. This is at a treatment center about 40 miles south of me in San Diego. I remember the first time a couple got assigned to me, I was like immediately like, oh no, what is this going to be like? am I going to be able to help? And I was fighting so hard to like help the couple get along and help the couple feel better together, until it started to show evident, man, there's some really subtle, emotionally abusive patterns in this relationship, where I see the boyfriend just treating the girlfriend that I was working with in these really abusive ways. So I kind of switched gears and stopped trying to just like sugarcoat everything and just make them feel better about the relationship. And we just started to make what was going on more explicit, take more ownership of it. And I remember watching this beautiful young woman, she's a young adult, she's in her early 20s, start to realize, oh, there are some things going on in this relationship that aren't okay. And then I remember really having to struggle when she came in and she said, I broke up with him. Because there's a part of me as the therapist that I'm like, did I screw it? Did I lead her down the wrong road? Did I fail as a couples therapist? Did I not do it? And then I realized, no, this is this young woman doing profound healing. And what was so wild, that the really aha moment was about 2 months later, she came and she's like, Brian, I realized that pain that I've felt in my side for the last 3 years. There's this she's gone to countless doctors. There's this pain right around her rib cage. I don't even remember when it went away, but sometime in the last couple of weeks it went away. I was like, oh, that's what God is trying to show me here, is that we can't medically cure, or at least not on a root system level, things that are actually our body screaming at us, trying to tell us that there's something on an emotional, psychological level that isn't healthy. We're poisoning ourselves in a way that other than food, you know? And so your question, what happens when we stuff these things? There's no such thing as like leapfrogging over the growth. We can't get out of the growth. We have to do it, which is why I think one of the things that came up at the conference that we met each other at is I have a saying that people know me for, is that when your marriage is hard, your marriage is working. It's actually doing.
Oh, that's good.
What it's supposed to do. And people, obviously that needs explaining, because that, you know, like, so wait a second, when I'm having like an ugly fight with my spouse, you're saying that that's healthy. It's like, no, I'm not saying it's healthy. I'm saying that what your marriage is doing is really healthy, is that we carry trauma unaware. We don't acknowledge, or we're not aware of the fact that we're carrying these wounds and these fears, these irrational responsibilities. It's my job to keep everybody happy all the time. We put this pressure on ourselves. And as single people, it's often easy to go through life and never realize that we're actually putting a weight on our shoulders that we weren't designed to carry. Marriage is one of those unique spaces in our life that reflects the weight and forces us to confront it. And it usually forces us to confront it through hurt, through offense, through anger, through conflict. When we are not acknowledging those things, when we're pushing them down, we're ignoring them, we're over-functioning for them, the cost, I think, is far greater than we even know how to acknowledge. Not just emotionally, where we're walking around and we feel the pain of being disconnected from our loved ones, or we feel the pain of not being good enough, or failing, or some sort of imminent danger in the workplace. What if I get fired? We feel these stressors, but we kind of orient those as like, this is an emotional cost. Well beyond that, I don't think it's a leap to say that if I stay there, I'm actually putting myself at risk of developing very physical ailments like diabetes or heart disease, other secondary functions that we know we're most likely to go into a doctor's office and they're going to prescribe us medication for something that our body's screaming at us, saying, what you need is boundaries. You need more vulnerability. You need to address this really scary pain in your life that you don't know what to do with. Yeah.
Wow, that is really powerful. So by stuffing or not having the difficult conversation, or just, again, back to that boundary issue, it has to go someplace in your body.
It goes somewhere. Yeah.
It goes someplace. Yeah.
It's going to surface.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, Dr. Brian. It exceeded all expectations. And honestly, some of my takeaways, the dashboard lights.
Love it.
And the calm place, that is just such a good technique and practice. And it's doable. You know, you're not Yeah, the things we talked about are hard, but they're doable with
Mm,
maybe not an immediate, like I said, pulling weeds, but
so good.
in the long run, maybe after a week, there's going to be a real payoff.
Yeah. Yeah. And like
Yeah,
you said, in the long run doesn't have to be 3 months. If you go to the
right.
gym, we usually don't see our rewards for like 3 to 6 months. This
Sure.
will be something that you can actually see much quicker than that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then obviously, we use those down regulatory responses. We build our capacity to calm our bodies down so that we can return to the stressor and actually deal with the issue, so that
Yes.
I can do the scary thing and learn how to hold boundaries in my life. Because just learning how to calm my body doesn't give me a free pass to not learn boundaries. We actually have to address the thing that our body is telling us is dangerous, but it does help tremendously to remind our body that it's safe to feel safe before we go confront the scary thing.
Oh, that is so good. That is so good. Wow. Dr. Brian, I wish I would have known you 20 years ago, but I know you now. And you have been such a blessing to me, to my husband, and
Mm,
to my podcast listeners. So thanks for being on Why Did I Get Cancer?
such an honor. I am so glad that we got to meet, not just because obviously this has been so fun and so meaningful for me, but I'm just glad I got to discover Deborah Enos and this brilliant stream. I'm excited to like send people to your content and say we need this is a
Oh,
voice that we need. So I'm grateful for you.
oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate you. I get so many newsletters every week, and I have to tell you, I probably read half of them. But when I open it up and it seems like it's really long, really wordy, I just delete, even though the information might be great. So here's where my newsletter comes in. I've designed my newsletter to be read in 45 seconds or less. I've actually been doing this newsletter for probably 25 years, and I enjoy editing down so that people will stick with me and they'll hang in there and they'll read the whole newsletter because there's good information, there's coupons, and there's things that I'm loving that I'm trying right now. And I try to pass that information on to you. And I usually talk about my podcast guest. So if you go to the link in the show notes, there's an easy way to sign up for the newsletter. It's free. It's never going to cost you anything. And again, you can read it in 45 seconds or less. And please pass it on to your friends. Enjoy. Hey, y'all, can you do me a favor today and go and leave a review of this podcast? I know that the more great reviews, wink, wink, emphasis on great reviews that I get, along with more downloads and more subscribers, that pushes this podcast out to people who might normally not even find it. And the reason I started this podcast and my real heart for starting this podcast is that I needed this information. It wasn't available. And so I started a podcast so that I could be a blessing to others. So you're a blessing to me just by being here. And again, thank you for your support. Thank you for your positive reviews and all of the notes that you send me. And I also just wanted to say, hey, keep in mind, I'm not a doctor. And if you need medical advice, please reach out to your team. That is going to be just the best source for you because they know you. So again, I hope you enjoyed this podcast.